Let's transition now to the headlines we're keeping an eye on for Week 14. The rest of the games on Sunday and Monday. Mike Williams practiced in full. That's a great sign, so he should be able to play against the Dolphins on Sunday night. In the Monday night game, Rondale Moore and Jakobi Meyers probably not going to play at this point. Moore dealing with the groin injury that's caused him to miss the last 2 weeks, and Jakobi Meyers dealing with the head injury he sustained on Thursday in Week 13. Travis Homer is looking like the lead running back for Seattle, and Trevor Lawrence, we're going to find out today if he's able to practice. That would hopefully lead to him playing in what could be a fun game for the Jaguars against the Titans. Let's start with that Chargers story here. So Mike Williams playing on Sunday night against the Dolphins. Dave, what does that mean for Williams himself?
I think it means that he's a number 2 fantasy wide receiver, but I've got him ranked toward the bottom of that list. I want to see a full game before I fully invest back in him as a top 50 fantasy wide receiver.
Heath, in terms of Justin Herbert, getting Mike Williams back, taking on the Dolphins secondary that at times has looked good, but at times has certainly looked leaky, getting his full complement of weapons for the first time really in what seems like forever. How good could Justin Herbert be?
I mean, he could be a top 3 or 4 quarterback if the problem all year has just been not getting into the end zone because he doesn't have his full complement of weapons. I'll rank him around QB6, QB7. He is one of those guys, along with Geno Smith and Kyler Murray, kind of at the bottom end of that I'm just starting them and not really thinking about it moving forward. And hopefully, if you've held out this long with Justin Herbert, you get the top 3 or 4 guy you drafted him to be for the rest of the year.
Yeah, a little frustrating so far, but hopefully bigger days ahead. And then, Dave, in terms of Williams coming back, what does it mean for Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, DeAndre Carter, Gerald Everett?
It's Keenan Allen is still a must-start guy. Still expect him to be the top target getter in that Chargers offense. And I think that Gerald Everett, we saw it, it's a small sample size, but in the very beginning of the year, Everett scored a touchdown. So he was a red zone weapon with Williams and Keenan Allen on the field, and then Allen got hurt in week 2, and we really haven't seen them all together. He's still a streamable tight end. Josh Palmer's the one you've got to take a big step back on because he's going to be the number 3 receiver in that offense. DeAndre Carter you can cut. Don't worry about him.
Last time we did see Williams play, though, he got hurt with the ankle injury, and Palmer went off for his best game of the season. So who knows how that will go for this week. The Monday night injuries that we're looking at, and again, we're going to get into a lot of the injury situations as we go through our games throughout the rest of the show, so we're not going to skip over guys like Saquon Barkley, for example. But in terms of the Monday night injuries, because we're not going to preview this game, DeAndre Hopkins dealing with an illness, he's expected to be okay, but Rondale Moore for the Cardinals dealing with a groin injury, did not practice on Thursday, and again, they're coming off their bye, so not the best situation for him. And then Jakobi Meyers dealing with a head injury, Damian Harris with a thigh injury. We'll start with the Cardinals situation here. So Heath, when you look at Rondale Moore not potentially playing, and Greg Dortch coming back from his thumb injury, Dortch looking like he's going to be good to go because he's full practice. With Hopkins and with Brown, we haven't seen that slot receiver really with all these guys on the field. So can Dortch still be a viable fantasy option against New England?
Well, we still saw the slot role last week. We just saw Marquise Brown playing the slot role. And so the question now is, do they play AJ Green or Robbie Anderson on the outside and leave Brown in that slot role, or do they move Brown outside and play Dortch in the slot? That's what I'm projecting is going to happen. I think even with Brown and Hopkins there, because there's no Zach Ertz, there's still room for 6 to 8 targets, not the 9 to 10 targets we've seen from the slot role most of the season, but 6 to 8 targets for Greg Dortch. I think in full PPR leagues, he could be a good number 3 wide receiver. Don't have a whole lot of interest in non-PPR.
All right, so we'll see what happens there. That slot position's just been fantastic, so hopefully that's a scenario. And then the other side, Dave, when you look at the Patriots, Damian Harris probably not going to play again, dealing with thigh injury. Ramondre Stevenson, superstar.
Got to start him.
But in terms of the pass catchers for the Patriots, great opportunity for Hunter Henry. But any of the pass catching, any of the wide receivers here, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, any interest?
No, none, because I can't predict which one is going to do what in the game against Arizona. And look, that Cardinals defense, they're great at not allowing the deep play. They're really bad against short area targets. That's one of the reasons why I like Hunter Henry. The fact that they have allowed a slew of touchdowns in their last 4 games at tight ends, that doesn't hurt things either. If I had to take a stab on which receiver that I like best, it's Devontae Parker, but he's not separating from coverage very well. He needs a lot of targets in order to get going. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. 7
touchdowns allowed to tight ends in the last 4 games for the Cardinals. They are the worst team at stopping tight ends, so hopefully Hunter Henry, who scored 2 games ago, can find the end zone once again. Some other injuries at the wide receiver position that we're keeping an eye on here. The first list, we're going to show you the players that did not practice on Thursday. So Tyreek Hill's expected to go, no concern there. Cortland Sutton, though, probably not going to play, dealing with the hamstring injury. Deontay Johnson's injury worth keeping an eye on because if he's out, George Pickens should certainly get a bump. The Texans probably not going to have Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. We're hoping to get Treylon Burks back, but probably not going to be the case with the concussion. And Corey Davis will hopefully play through the illness. The next list of wide receiver injuries are more of the guys who were limited on Thursday. And so we do expect Deebo Samuel to play. T. Higgins should be able to go. Amari Cooper should be able to go. Same thing with DK Metcalf. Now, Jerry Jeudy should get a bump without Cortland Sutton there. Zay Jones hopefully will be fine. And then Kadarius Toney, something to keep an eye on, but not everybody's going to trust him, even though he may be able to play against the Broncos. Looking at the big running back stories, we're going to go to the one in Seattle because Travis Homer did practice in full. However, no Kenneth Walker, no DJ Dallas, and Tony Jones is still there. So Heath, makes sense of the Seattle backfield, assuming that it's Homer and Tony Jones leading the way against the Panthers.
I want zero part of it if it's Homer and Tony Jones. I think Homer will handle a majority of the passing down work and maybe carry the ball 3 to 5 times. I would expect somewhere in the 10 to 15 carry range for Tony Jones with almost nothing in the passing game, and I really wouldn't expect him to be very efficient with those carries. He's had one game in his career with more than 15 carries. He turned that into 26 yards. I would like to stay away from this backfield. If I had to start one, it would be Tony Jones, but I'd rather start Samaje Perine.
You agree?
It depends on the format. If it's full PPR, I'd rather have Homer than Tony Jones. And I just wonder if there's a scenario that plays out where Tony Jones is ineffective early on and Pete Carroll says, you know what, let's just go with Geno Smith and let Geno control the whole offense. That would put Travis Homer on the field a little bit more. We don't have Travis Homer ranked as of now, but when we do, he'll be ranked ahead of Tony Jones for me.
Yeah, I like Homer's situation a little bit better. More, he's been with the team. He knows the system a little bit better. Tony Jones just a guy to me, and so I think Travis Homer, probably the same thing, but I think the work in the passing game will be a little bit better for his opportunities. The other running back injuries that we're looking at here, Christian McCaffrey still limited with the knee problem, expected to be okay. Saquon Barkley, second straight day, was limited on Friday also, so limited on Thursday with a neck injury. Just something to keep an eye on there. Could be Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell sharing touches if Barkley does not play, but all signs point to Barkley being able to go against the Eagles. Najee Harris, limited with the oblique injury, should be good to go. Leonard Fournette, however, went from limited on Thursday to not practicing on Friday. Certainly something to keep an eye on there because it would be great for Rachaad White and his outlook against the 49ers, mostly in the passing game. Deontay Foreman upgraded from not practicing on Wednesday to limited on Thursday, trending in the right direction, so should be good to go in a great matchup against the Seahawks. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. The quarterback scenario, that's the big one here, is Trevor Lawrence dealing with the foot injury. So Dave did not practice again on Thursday. We're going to get the practice report, I'm sure, before the end of the show today for his Friday status. But if he does not play, and it is C.J. Beathard, what does that mean for Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram?
I think the only guy that you'll start is Christian Kirk, and you've got to lower those expectations quite a bit if that's the case. We know that Christian Kirk is a great slot receiver and a guy who can be productive, but he's getting a downgraded quarterback going to Beathard.
All right, so we'll see what happens there. If there is Lawrence, though, I think Zay Jones is a good number 3 receiver. He'll bounce back, 7 targets last week. And Evan Ingram certainly in the streaming tight end business because that's what he's been for the majority of the season. Other quarterback injuries that we're looking at here, Lamar Jackson not expected to play, dealing with a knee injury. Tua should be good to go, and don't worry about Geno Smith dealing with a shoulder injury, should be fine. The tight end injuries that we're looking at as well, you got Hayden Hurst not practicing on Thursday again, dealing with a calf injury, probably going to be out. David Njoku, though, limited once again. If he plays, as we told you throughout the week, he's a good number 1 tight end, but on the low-end scale, we just don't know how he'll work with Deshaun Watson. And maybe if Will Dissly is out dealing with a calf injury, that could be a bump for Noah Fant. They're probably going to be throwing a lot in that game for Seattle. Not the easiest of matchups, but targets will matter, and that certainly can help Noah Fant if Dissly does not play.